the Dawkins selfish gene innovation helps explain why it's a human universal to be kind towards your family and towards your offspring. But then there's this separate question, which is really the focus of your book, which is why would primates such as ourselves, so constructed, be kind to strangers? Why do I very occasionally in New York, when I'm in the mood, give $1 to the person begging when that person is clearly not my family? Why do people routinely donate to charity? Donate to charities that are working in places that are so far away that they're almost abstractions. And you sort of start out by looking at some of the explanations within evolutionary psychology. And there are two that you highlight and sort of explain as both inadequate, but they're useful to think about just to grab onto the evolutionary psychological way of thinking. And those are the stranger adaptionist model and the blessed mistake model. So could you explain those two?
Yeah. I mean, there's generally, a lot of social scientists and biologists are interested in where niceness comes from. Clearly we've got this kinship thing going on, this Hamilton thing that I talked about. We've got some other theorists. It's all to say this is sociality is a huge part of evolutionary biology, and so evolutionary social scientists have taken an interest in it as well. And in general, they've fallen into two schools to explain, why do we care about strangers? Why do we tip in restaurants we'll never visit again, or when we go to a conference and we're going to be going to a cafe where we'll never benefit from having helped somebody? Why do we leave a tip? Why do we do all these things towards strangers that we seem to get no benefit from? And there's, as I size it up, there's two camps. There are groups of theorists who say, no, we have evolved to take an interest in the welfare of strangers. And we can just look back into the history of human demography and look at how groups were structured. And we can see ways in which there were strangers in our midst that it would have generated a payoff to us to have a genuine, abiding, intrinsic care for. So I call them stranger adaptationists. I think, well, I'll move on to the second one. The second group of people, and Dawkins is really at the vanguard of them. I refer to as blessed mistakers, and this is a term I actually got from Dawkins in one of his latter, more recent books. He was trying to give people a sense for why we do care about strangers, and he compared it to something like sexual desire, where he says, sexual desire clearly exists for the purpose of facilitating reproduction. But today, we can know that fact and know that we don't want to have children. And nevertheless, we still continue to have a desire to have sex and to have a mate. So even though the passion is still there, we don't necessarily need to, it can motivate behavior under situations in which there's no hope of it fulfilling its end goal, which is to cause us to have, to have offspring. So he says that we can have the same concern for others around us, even if there's no chance of us getting a benefit from helping them. Because the psychology that motivates us to care about others evolved in a world in which caring for others ended up meaning caring for your friends or your family, because the people that you would encounter, that you lived among, were people who cared about you. And so any random person you just grabbed out of the universe of people you knew and decided to help was going to be somebody you knew. So why would natural selection bother making that system any smarter than that. You can imagine in a world where you essentially know everybody, everybody's in your contact list that you're ever going to run across. Natural selection could just say like, hey, when you come across, help them, So to help people today is a blessed mistake. It's a lovely thing. It makes the world a better place, but we're not doing it because we care about the welfare of strangers. We're doing it because our minds have this rule of thumb that says, if you see it and it's needy, help it. Because in a world in which that sentiment involved, that would make the individual better off. So I have some reasons to think that is an incomplete explanation as well. But those are the two kind of alternatives on offer that I was trying to steer between, because I didn't find either of them very, completely satisfying. So in some ways, my book is really about trying to steer a different way forward to understand. The book started out as the provisional title was Why We Don't Give a Damn, because I didn't realize how fun it would be to write about why we do give a damn. But ultimately, it's why we give a damn about strangers. And I don't think either of those two, sort of alternatives really get the job done.